Play.
Hey guys, welcome to the next ATP Weekly. I think maybe from the title you could have gotten that it's going to be me and Mario again, but actually we have a substitute this week. Vanch, Mario couldn't do today, I couldn't do tomorrow. We had to get a compromise and get Vanch. But of course he's already been here a few times, and he's going to do just as well. And Ghosty's already in the chat talking that Tiafoe is going to win Wimbledon. I guess we might as well just get right to it, right? I mean, the final in Stuttgart today. So Tiafoe beating Struff in a third set tiebreaker. Lots of storylines to unpack there, I suppose. What do you think this means for Tiafoe and his season so far in general? Before this year, one of the main points that people were bringing up about him was that he only had one ATP title. Right now, he added 2. Is this a step forward?
Yeah, I think it was a very good week for him. He has a title on every surface now, so that certainly bodes well. And grass is a surface he's done decently well on before. Like last year, he was in the 4th round of Wimbledon, had some chances to put away David Goffin deep into a 5th set, and then you never know, maybe he would have made the semis. But I just think this was a big step forward because this was a high quality final against Struff. The 2 tie breaks that he was able to win. Second set, he just played fantastic and ran away with it. But in the 3rd set, he really had to battle hard. Struff had a match point, championship point, and Tiafoe hit this forehand approach shot cross court that hit the line, and it was a very timely winner for him. And then he was able to come through 10-8, and it was really all about first strike tennis, and he held his nerve really well because Struff could have easily been standing here with his first ATP title and top 28 breakthrough as well. So I think it bodes well for American men's tennis. Obviously, that's a huge storyline that it's been first time since over 11 years that we have 2 men in the same week in the rankings, top 10. Just gives us a lot more chances of having deeper runs in majors, especially because since Andy Roddick, we've not really seen that. We've seen a few players make semifinals, like Sam, of course, the next year. But so that I think this improves Tiafoe's prospects. As far as Wimbledon goes, I'm not sure if he's going to break that 3rd round, 4th round barrier. Kind of depends on his draw and depends also just how he does in Queens, and just it'll be important, I think, for him to keep this going. But yeah, it's an important win. Obviously, top 10 is big.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that getting these 2 titles is definitely a step forward. As you said, I have to bring this up. I'm sorry. You posted today that he is one of the 16 active players who own an ATP Tour title on clay, hard, and grass. And he's also one of the 12 active players who are in possession of a challenger title on hard, clay, grass. He's also just one
that's
of 2
right.
players.
Yeah, he does have a title on all 3 at challenger level. Yeah.
And he's also just one of 2 players who possess a challenger title on hard courts, grass, red clay, and green clay, along with Zizou Perks. So yeah, just some insane versatility there. Of course, there's a lot of randomness in this because he only has 6 challenger titles or something like this. So the fact that he actually managed to get all of them is actually kind of funny. I mean, Perks has just 5, and he also has managed to get 4 of these. So I don't know if that stat is really huge, but I kind of had to. I kind of had to bring it up. Me. And certainly just a very good week. We know he can play on grass. Perhaps some of the aspects of his game, like the crazy spin he can get on other surfaces, maybe they won't work as well, but the serve is even enhanced. And the toughest match, of course, against Struff, but also the quarter that he played against Musetti, getting through there was it was a bit of a nightmare for him. Just for a set and a half, Musetti was playing so well on grass, which no one really expected, and yet he survives. He also survives that tough tiebreaker against Vujovic. And I guess the main story also of this round for Tiafoe was the tiebreakers, because he's won 5 of them, was just 1, and yeah, just won some absolutely crucial long ones against Struff and against Vujovic. And yeah, I guess maybe we can talk about Jan-Lennard Struff then, the guy who just reached his third ATP final at the age of 33. Of course, no one really expected that when he was out injured in 2022, when he had just a couple of random runs basically, and now he goes into this year, and of course has the best season of his career. Was almost got to the top 20, which would have been such a massive achievement, but perhaps even bigger. What? Ghosty says that I don't count Houston, but which I don't know what he's talking about. But anyway, of course, I was talking about Struff, and perhaps even a bigger achievement for him would be that title, which over the past 5-10 years we have just been constantly mentioning that Jan-Lennard Struff still doesn't have an ATP Tour title. I'm sure he was thinking about it himself as well. Still gave a good account of himself. And actually, this was like his first big grass run, right? I mean, his records before this year on grass were absolutely terrible. How is that possible? I actually do not have an answer to this question. Maybe you do.
Yeah, I know why clay is his best surface, obviously, because he needs maybe that little extra time on his forehand, and he can, that he has a sort of a really big swing, and he likes to take big cuts. And I think with the serve and the high bounce, that can definitely help him. That's why he's made 2 fourth rounds at the French before, and he's, that Munich final also in 2021. Grass, he's just had a bit more streakiness, I think. Like he's 14 and 26 at ATP level before this week. Now the record has improved a little bit. And this was basically a coin flip of a match. Like I don't think he did anything. I don't think I can really fault him in any category. I mean, he had the match point. Tiafoe came up with a good play. He certainly gave a good account of himself. He played a really good game to break in the first set and take it 6-4. And his run this week was obviously, pretty impressive. Like he beat Paul, he beat Gasquet, he beat Hurkacz from a set down. So I think he's certainly another one of these players that can I don't think he's ever made a 4th round of Wimbledon. I think his best was his 3rd round. But
he lost to Federer, right?
In 2018, I think. So I mean, and I think last year he was actually very close, even against Alcaraz. He played him very tight. He was up 2-love in a 4th set tie break and 2-1, and Alcaraz pulls off this miraculous cross-court backhand flick with one hand on the run. So if Alcaraz hadn't made that shot, you never know. Maybe he could even have gone deeper in that draw. And last year he was injured as well. So I feel like it's not a game that should be tailor-made for us, especially because he loves to mix in the serve and volley as well, and just comes to the net and takes your time away, rushes you. So he is one of those more natural surface type players, I think. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good final overall. Quality was good.
Yeah, Ghosty Pete was about to turn 22 when he won his first Wimbledon. Anyway,
in terms of getting his first medal, though, I don't know how many more chances he'll get. Like he's 33 now.
Yeah.
Unless he plays a grass tournament, unless he plays Newport after Wimbledon, maybe he can try to get his first one there. I know there were a lot of questions like this about Millman, for example, and then Millman got his first title in 2021.
And that was the last we've seen of him.
Yeah, basically.
More or less, yeah. I mean, of course, he has played since, but he hasn't played at a level that we were accustomed to seeing. Yeah, but Struff, he got his first final when he was 30, 31 in Munich. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe he still has another one in him, but yeah, at this point, of course, you have to wonder whether there's another one. Maybe something like, I don't know, Metz, like an indoor 250 at the end of the year. But yeah, I totally get why clay is his best surface, but I just never really got why the disparity was so huge. And I guess he kind of made it lesser this week. I wonder if all the other guys, the big servers that have never actually done that well on clay, so I don't know, Hanfmann, Nicolas Jarry, whether they will also start bringing some results. Because, I mean, yeah, the serve should still win them some matches. I'm not saying it should win them.
Even like an Isner, right? I mean, Isner made one semifinal in Wimbledon in 2018. Everything else was 3rd round. He never got past 3rd round all the other years that he played it. And so I think it kind of gets misconstrued sometimes that, grass is his best surface for a lot of these big servers, which in some cases I think their peak level shows that it is maybe, but then their overall consistency is just better on a clay court.
Yeah, I mean, but still, like they had these random runs, right? I mean, Isner had the semifinal. I'm definitely on that team who claims that John Isner actually was best on clay, or maybe on like a slow hardcourt, slow high bouncing hardcourt. Anyway, John Isner is probably not what we're going to talk about today because John Isner is not really around right now. Anyway, we will probably have to talk about some other guys from Stuttgart as well. I did hint at this, but like Lorenzo Musetti had a very good run. Before this year, Lorenzo Musetti did not have a single professional win on grass. The rivals were really tough though. I think it was like Basidashvili, Hurkacz, Fritz, and someone Public maybe or someone like this. So yeah, it was just a nightmare draw, but still you would expect, with Musetti, with his sort of aversion to fast and slick conditions, grass would be great for him. And yet he suddenly comes out and yeah, he actually has a very nice run. Is there something that like surprised you about this, and like how was he able to pull it off?
Well, I think he has a very good slice, so that certainly helps him in on the defense, and he can bring people in. The backhand is still, quite a versatile shot, so he can put it in good positions on the court. And I think his forehand is actually, he's made a few changes to it in terms of the, just the backswing, and the footwork is just a little bit cleaner, I think. Like he didn't look like he was really rushed on a lot of occasions. He was giving Tiafoe fits for like a set and a half, like you correctly said. And then actually he had this one bad bounce in the second set tiebreak against Tiafoe that kind of threw him off a little bit. And then Tiafoe had all the momentum in the third set, but before that, like it was very positive, like 2 wins here, and then now like I think he's at a career high ranking as well, like 16, I think. Maybe I'll double check that, but he's suddenly someone who I could see winning 2-3 rounds at Wimbledon wouldn't really surprise me. So maybe he is one of those more. Maybe he's proving to be more surface versatile at his young age than we gave him credit for originally. So, and I also think in 2021, for example, that loss to Hurkacz came very quickly after that 2 sets to love up defeat, and he was still finishing up his high school, I think. And I remember Novak helped him like after the match, and like they went. Like he
charter flight somewhere, right?
Yeah, I remember reading about that, and there was just 2 weeks between that and first round of Wimbledon, so you kind of knew that was a throwaway season. And then I just think, and then last year he was just not nearly as confident. He had a very poor first half, but I think this year he can actually like build on this run and maybe be somewhat of a factor. And I mean, the game seems to be adapting better.
Yeah, I think, Michael, when you say that you expect Novak to be upset at Wimbledon, you actually confuse the word expect with hope or something along these lines. But anyway, that's just a joke, of course. And anyway, yeah, I keep blanking on like forgetting to actually pull up the draw from Stuttgart, so I'm kind of going off the top of my head. But yeah, there was also, of course, Marton Fucsovics. Yes, what a phenomenal story too, that he got to the semis. Phenomenal grass courter with the Jesus. And I was supposed to talk about Musetti as well. I think the first serve was what really surprised me. The fact that on clay, of course, he goes for the kick a lot and for all these out wide angles, and here he was just slamming it, flat down the tee, and it was actually unbreakable for the most part, at least for most players, at least until Tiafoe finally got to him in the third set. So we have a good draw. He's not actually going to be like I kind of expect maybe Echeverri to be a bit of a free win for most players when it comes to the seeds at Wimbledon. Musetti doesn't look like it. Maybe Echeverri will play himself into form as well. I mean, he has been improving his serving too. Of course, the forehand is like a weapon that potentially could just be good on all surfaces. So maybe I'm actually understanding Echeverri a little bit. But yeah, I don't think Musetti is just going to be a free win for most players at Wimbledon, and definitely not anymore. And now I was going to talk about Marton Fucsovics, who, of course, in 2022 maybe didn't have the best grass season, but he was really hit hard by the Wimbledon points. not being awarded, because in 2021 he had the quarterfinal there. He couldn't defend it. He fell out of the top 100, or like got close to falling out. He then eventually fell out for a couple of weeks. He even took a break of 2 months, which I talked to him last year, and he said that was just literally because of like mental reasons. He was not okay with the fact that the Wimbledon points weren't awarded, and the fact that he couldn't defend them, that there was literally nothing he could do. And that's why he took a 2-month break. Of course, in the end, he actually managed to save his season gracefully. He won that challenger at the end of the year. He got into the top 100 and the Australian Open main draw spot. And look at him now. Look at him go. And he is also going to be really dangerous at Wimbledon, I believe. You know, that slice is really just fantastic. And it's a bit of a shame that he is unable to use it as well, especially on the offense in other conditions, maybe. But you know, that's also not really his fault, I suppose.
Yeah, he was very good against Woods. I watched a lot of that match. The slice was doing wonders for him, and he was coming forward and knocking off volleys at the net. He served pretty well throughout. Yeah, I mean it is his best surface. Wimbledon, he beat. Rublev was kind of his pigeon throughout that year until Wimbledon, where he came back from 2-1 down and then beats him, and then runs into Djokovic, and then even at Roland Garros, I thought he played very well against Novak for a set.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then his soul was gone after that. But I mean, I think he's like pretty dangerous. I wouldn't want to play him in the first round if I'm one of the seeds. At Wimbledon, for sure.
Yeah, and even if you're Novak, right? I mean, he just always gives him a bit of trouble, at least. I suppose he has never actually beaten him, but he at least gives him a tiny bit of trouble. And maybe let's also touch on Hubert Hurkacz. Kosti will already be screaming in the chat and waiting for me to actually start roasting my countryman. I actually have to say that I don't necessarily get the critique that he has been getting for even this run in Poland, I would say, at least on the Polish internet, which might honestly be just even more roasty towards any Polish players than I am usually. But yeah, I mean, starting with Watanuki, that's not an issue for me. Watanuki is insane, and the way he was serving in that match, essentially all the time, but in the second set tiebreak, and then the double fault, of course, on the match played up. And also, I think Hurkacz played a very good match against O'Connell, who was just didn't have that much of a threat compared to Watanuki, of course, especially couldn't really rush him as effectively, and losing to Struff. I think that's still a very fine introduction to the grass court season for Hurkacz. When we say this, like introduction to the season, like the first tournament on grass this year, it kind of makes it seem like there's going to be, 2 months of grass, whereas he's only going to play Halle and Wimbledon after that. I don't know, maybe he could sign up for like Eastbourne if Halle doesn't go right or something. But yeah, anyway, I think this was still a pretty a really good start to his grass season, and at the same time, last year he lost to Fucsovics in the opening round at Stuttgart. 2 years ago he lost to Stricker. Didn't stop him from achieving some great results after that, so I really don't think there's anything to complain about. Sorry, Ghosty.
Yeah, I think this was a step in the right direction. I mean, the O'Connell match was pretty clean from start to finish. No tie breaks, which is always good if you're a Hurkacz fan. Just because he's played so many this year. Like, I think he had 34 tie breaks before the O'Connell match, and he was like 18-16 was his record, and he had played 32 matches up until that point. So on the year, so he was basically averaging over one tie break, at least in every match, if you count best of 3 and best of 5. So if he's able to just like get a quick break or just sneak, we know he's going to be one of the more unbreakable servers on this surface. And I guess now in terms of grass results, he is maybe one of the most accomplished players on the ATP, because he has the Halle title and the Wimbledon semifinal and now Stuttgart semifinal. Go along with it. So, I mean, he is. There's kind of a shortage of contenders on the men's side anyway on grass, and you have to put Hurkacz in the top 5 because of that pedigree. And if there's any place where he's going to turn around his season, this will be the one. So he can start getting closer back to the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, we covered that I think on the Iga Carlos show, but like the main contenders for Wimbledon outside of Djokovic right now are probably like Alcaraz, Medvedev, and if Hurkacz had a good Halle run, he could be like up there with them, I think. And I'm not really sure if there's another player who could really like be up there with them just after one good event right now. Taylor Fritz, if he like wins Queens in dominant fashion.
Or Shapovalov if it just gets really hot again and streaky,
Yeah,
but
but like
can't
we
really.
wouldn't be expecting it though, right? Like it would be something that just happens. It wouldn't be something predictable, I suppose.
Yeah. And I think it looks like Felix is probably out for the foreseeable future at least. He's probably back from injury, and then same with Berrettini, of course. So
Yeah.
seems like he came back way too early after his injury in Monte Carlo with the oblique tear. So I think that kind of explains maybe the one-sidedness of his match against Sonego, because even the weapons like just weren't really working at all with the serve and the forehand. So that's kind of
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he came back too early. I mean, I don't think he worsened his situation. I mean, he clearly wasn't ready, but he kind of needed to be back for the grass, right? I mean, that's the part of his season that he has to be back for. I don't know how it's gonna work out with Kyrgios as well, because well, in Stuttgart, he did look like he probably shouldn't be coming back. Like he definitely looked like just like Berrettini, he just felt like he needs to be there for the grass. And yeah, we're just gonna have to see if this persists with Kyrgios. If maybe it was just some sort of tentative movement, after a surgery, after an injury. This is normal, of course, but yeah, it certainly didn't look like he was as mobile as before. I guess we could talk about Togenbosch then, right? Or do you want to?
There were a couple of other things from Stuttgart. The Gasquet getting to 600 ATP wins. I thought that was a big thing. He's the
Oh, okay.
player to do that. Obviously, Tsitsipas also losing in the first round, number one seed. Had some chances to beat Gasquet. Probably should have won the first set. Was 3-love up. Tight break, had a set point as well. And then shanked a lot in the third set in that last game. Otherwise, that would have been kind of interesting to see a third set tiebreak on that one, especially after Tsitsipas did dominate the second set. First match back on grass, obviously for Steph, but I think he would use a really good run in Halle, particularly because he's not going to be playing in the third week, and he's kind of somebody who needs the matches even now in his career before heading up to Wimbledon. But yeah, this was a great effort by SK to finally get another win on grass. He continues to still be the player in the world. I believe 37 now.
Yeah, he's turning 37 today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's also playing Sinner in the opening round at Queens, right? So that's actually this is really tricky. This is really tricky.
Yes.
I saw that the odds on that were like just absolutely crazy, favoring Sinner like massively. I don't think that's the case at all. I know that Gasquet's Wimbledon semifinals came 2007 and 2015, I think. So like it's not. I'm not saying that he's gonna play like this again, but just it feels like if he's still going to be like really dangerous to top seeds, it's gonna be on the grass. That cheap return was like doing wonders for him against Tsitsipas. He has so much flair, of course, and like the angles. And yeah, just feel like the surface that is the least physical, but at the same time allows you to be creative as well, unless you're like getting blown off the court by some huge powerful guy. That's maybe where he can still succeed at this stage of his career. So yeah, I guess maybe we could move on to Hertogenbosch then, where Talon Griekspoor played his second ATP Tour title, beating Jordan Thompson in the final. We talked about Griekspoor, of course, on many Talking Tennis shows, and like the fact that he had that ankle surgery lined up, and like decided that he needs to play the clay season first. Apparently, the grass season he is also going to play, and rightfully so. And I mean, where does this put Talon in terms of his statement that, he always said that clay is his best surface and he needs to play on it, he needs to play through the pain, and then he just wins an ATP Tour title on hardened grass. Is my theory that Greek sport at the challenger level was just insane on clay, and then actually the higher the level of opposition is going to be, like the better the defenders that he's going to face are going to be, the more he actually starts needing that quicker court to help him get through them.
His forehand was doing a lot of damage though this week on the grass, particularly on the run. I thought he was hitting that really, really well. And then like he just got really, really hot with it at times and very confident. And I feel like he could have lost to Damian, but he came back and he won that match. That was a good effort. And then obviously Ruusuvuori beat him, and he beat Ruusuvuori in the semis, who had a good run himself. And then this match against Thompson was an important one because he was down. He lost the first set in the tiebreak, and then the game comes back, and then he wins the second set very plainly, and then just a break at love basically to win the third. So yeah, he's in the top 30 now, right? Greek sport. So,
Yeah.
21
in the ATP race, I think. But that was like at the beginning of the year when he had these Rotterdam runs, and of course on Pune. That was what everyone like had foreseen for him. I think top 30 this year at some point. It's just that his clay season was kind of ruined. I guess not really. It wasn't really his fault. But yeah, I definitely feel like going forwards, he's just dead wrong on the fact that on the ATP Tour, clay is still his best surface, and maybe this run just even shows it again. Of course, you also have to factor in that probably the ankle was okay, and it wasn't stopping him either. And he has a pretty nice draw in Halle as well. He could play Hurkacz in the second round, but he just needs to beat Carballes Baena to get there. So it seems like this matchup will happen. And of course, they met in the French Open round 2 when Hurkacz won in 5, as he usually does, in 5 or 3. And this time it could certainly be close again. I don't really think that the fact that Talon played 5 matches this week is going to matter that much, because it's still grass. It's like less physical. I think he will have enough in the tank to scare Hurkacz again.
How many of Talon's 8 challenger titles in 2021 were on clay?
Around 6, I think.
6 out of 8, right? Wow.
One was Bratislava indoor hard, and there was also Tenerife outdoor hard courts when he beat Lopez, and I think 6 of them were on clay.
Yeah, maybe that skewed his perception a little bit, because so far on the ATP level, he's just been a lot better on the faster surfaces. And yeah, maybe the ankle was a big factor in his, although he still has it kind of like taped up. It is still kind of bothering him some weeks, but it looks like it certainly looks like it's manageable and not going to get in the way of his success, at least for now, right? So
yeah, I wonder when he takes that break, right? I mean, off season, can he wait for that long? Maybe he can. There was also Jordan Thompson in the final. Second time, of course, ATP Tour finalist. The first one was Hertogenbosch 2019. Now he made it into the final in Hertogenbosch 2023. Jordan Thompson isn't really like holding up on the main tour most of the time, but on grass, he actually really is. And this is just another show of that. And honestly, like Jordan Thompson is definitely far from my favorite player to watch usually. He is extremely boring. I would even I would even say this. But on grass, I am actually enjoying him a lot. And like the Andy Murray-ish playstyle, maybe some British fans in the comments are now going to be angry at me because I compared Andy Murray to Jordan Thompson. But of course, I'm not saying they do it. They execute it at the same quality. I just feel like they have a lot of the same. The first serve is of course really vital, but then you kind of grind and you play just get some very smart point construction
in. Like the craftiness with the low slices.
Yes, the craftiness with a lot of slicing, a lot of good like absorbing pace, which is actually really tough to do in these sort of conditions. I think not many players can pull it off. The forehands are like somewhat fragile and can sometimes struggle to inject pace, but on grass they just get a pass for that. I do see a lot of similarities, and I've started really enjoying watching Jordan Thompson as he has improved over the years a lot, just on grass, basically, like in terms of my viewing enjoyment. But he was absolutely fabulous this week, of course, and just a bit of a shame, of course, for him not to get that ATP Tour title.
Yep, just like Struff, just a set away, basically. One tie break away, and he had that very good win against Manarino, who he actually lost to in that 2019 Bosch final. They seem to always meet in Bosch, and they seem to always have their best results there. But I think he's like another one of those Australians that just grew up on grass, was very comfortable right from the juniors itself, kind of like Hijikata and like Kubler and players like that. Seems like that's where they just have some of their best results. Kubler, of course, also last year got to the 4th round. And I think Thompson got to the 3rd round in 2021, where he beat Nishikori, and I was like really impressed with that Nishikori match in the 2nd round. Even though like I don't really rate Nishikori super high on grass, he's a 2-time quarterfinalist in 2018 and 2019. But I just thought I was just very impressed, like in terms of his all court game on the grass and his pace absorption and the slices, and just loves to come in, serve and volley. He doesn't really have any huge weapons either. Like it's not like he can serve his way out of a lot of jams, or he's amazingly offensive from the back of the court, but he kind of just has to grind and make on the other surfaces. He's really, unless he grinds, he doesn't really have a whole lot of other ways. But on grass, it seems like he has more opportunity. He can execute better. Maybe he's actually going to be more of a threat in terms of actually beating a top player, though, in 3 out of 5 sets. I don't know if he'll actually just be able to do that. I don't know if he has that kind of level in him. But for these warm-ups, he's going to be probably the guy to circle.
Yeah, I mean, I was really... I can hear myself now. Not sure why. Anyway, I was really disappointing. Okay, I can't hear myself anymore, thankfully. Jesus. Yes, Michael, he's the guy with the porno mustache from the 1970s, absolutely. I was really disappointed when he played Tsitsipas at Wimbledon last year, because it was just such a tame loss, and that's exactly how I felt. He had a really good grass court season 2022. He won Surbiton. He finished runner-up in Nottingham. And then, it felt like he should be able to threaten the seeds at Wimbledon. And it just wasn't close at all. Maybe he would have a better shot in like Hertogenbosch, maybe just these sort of conditions that suit him better. I'm not sure if he actually had any huge Queens runs. Of course, he beat Andy Murray there, but I don't think he actually had. Oh, he actually played Queens just once, and that was the run. So he even did it as a lucky loser, of course, that Murray win. So. Maybe these sort of like Wimbledon, Queens events. Maybe he's actually weaker at them than he is, and Surbiton, Nottingham. Of course, it's the challenger level. Like the opposition is going to be slightly weaker, but Hertogenbosch, doesn't really play the same. Although I would say it's still pretty similar. Certainly fantastic run. He beat Raonic very easily. Could have lost there. Lost the opening set there. And was pretty clutch on the 2 set points that he saved. And the Manarino win is certainly quite huge for him, as given the fact that he lost to him in 2019. And they just I think they're very similar in how uncomfortable they make their opponents. I guess there was also that big win from Ruusuvuori over Sinner, right? At the ATP Tour level, he hasn't beaten him, hadn't. Of course, he had beaten him in a challenger before in Canberra 2020, which has to be mentioned. And it makes all of the, Ruusuvuori hasn't beaten Sinner, or at this point hadn't. It makes just all of this talk redundant. But it was certainly still a huge win for the Finn, who usually comes close to doing this and then fails in the end.
Yeah, the Ruusuvuori, I think, yeah, you're right. It was 5-0 at ATP level and the one challenger result, 6-3, 6-4 for Emil. But this one, I got to be honest, I was watching Sinner, and I've been tracking sort of the changes that I've seen in his serve, just because, he's tinkered a lot with his serve and at various stages, like in the juniors, all the way till 2018, he had like a platform stance. So
Yeah.
that's the one where you don't have your feet together and you do the trophy position, but you have sort of your feet apart. And it's kind of like, for example, Federer is just a prime example of someone with a platform stance. And Sinner had that early on in his career, but then he switched to the pinpoint, and then he went back to the platform, and he's had the platform since the last couple of years, since that Washington D.C. run actually, where he won the title in 2021. And I felt like that was a good choice for him, and it would seem to be working. His serve, he started to get more free points for serve, everything. And now I think after the Altmaier result, he's gone back to the feet together again. So I wonder, what's up with that. Of course, I don't know how much of a difference that's really making, but he wasn't getting that much out of his first serve against Ruusuvuori, and Ruusuvuori won 100% of his first serve points in this match, which was actually pretty impressive. He never faced a break point, and he was always just rolling on his serve. And um, yeah, Ghosty is talking about Ruusuvuori being called a baby sinner. Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, they both kind of like to hug the baseline and take a lot of time away. They have compact stroke production of both wings, and they're just very good power baseliners. So I think that's where the parallels come from, maybe in terms of their play style. That's why Sinner usually had the upper hand, just because he just does that at a more consistent level normally. But I mean, how worried are you about Sinner moving forward? Because really since he beat Musetti in that Monte Carlo match in the quarters, since then, of course, he had that tight loss to Runa, and then he didn't play in Madrid, and he didn't he got sick, and then he had the losses to Cerundolo and Altmaier, which before this were his only two bad losses on the year, I would say. But and I mean, Cerundolo is not really a bad loss, of course, on clay, because he's like a top 10, top 15 player on the surface anyway. But just I mean, does this really matter a whole lot? Because I mean, last year also Sinner didn't really have great results, and then he made the quarterfinals of Wimbledon. So maybe he has time to turn it around, and it's probably too early to judge. And Ruusuvuori did play an awesome match, but
Yeah, I don't think it's really like the most important part of the season for him anyway. From my perspective, like I think there was a slight degree of, I don't want to say randomness in that Wimbledon run, but like he's not the second favorite answering the poll that that John has just put out. I don't think he's even in the top four favorites for Wimbledon. Like I don't think this is going to be like repeatable constantly. So I don't think this is the most important part of the season, but yeah, the fact that he lost this consistency, the fact that he lost, that streak of like winning two matches every single event, but that was also injury related, right? I mean, illness related, maybe more so at the beginning. The fact that he lost it was because his clay season got kind of ruined, and now, yeah, it seems like he's just kind of struggling with it. Ruusuvuori Sinner, I didn't think of Sinner as like a huge favorite. I think the head-to-head was pretty harsh on Ruusuvuori for sure. There was that Miami match that he
yeah,
lost to
that
him.
Miami match was epic, right?
Yeah,
Those match
blowing
point
match
series,
points
yeah,
in the deciding tiebreak. So yeah, I don't think it was really that lopsided. Ruusuvuori Sinner, Emil definitely played a great match. I think that Baby Sinner and like the comparison of their playing styles is quite kind of accurate in that this is also perhaps why Sinner is actually leading the head-to-head 5-2, because
yeah,
they're basically the same players, but at the same time Sinner just does everything better.
yeah,
He's more violent, he is better mentally, and he has more racket head speed. Like his power isn't maybe as static as well as Ruusuvuori's can be. Of course, both are like glued to the baseline. They won't finish points off at the net. They cannot drop shot. They cannot volley, and basically that's what they should be looking at. And we've been saying that about both for years. That's a very easy way to like improve their potential, improve their ceiling, to have a transition game, just have it easier for yourself to finish off the points, cut down some of these losses where the opponent just grinds you down. But yeah, I think the comparison makes a lot of sense. But certainly Ruusuvuori is not as far behind as, you know, a 5-0 head-to-head, let's say. Let's forget the challenger win. Let's say 5-0 head-to-head. That was just a bit too much. So good that he finally got the win. He's more violent in his ball striking. That's what I mean, Ghosty. That, like, you know, he's just faster, he's just quicker, he takes the ball earlier, he's just more dynamic in terms of his aggressive ball striking than Ruusuvuori is. That's more or less what I meant with violent, not that he's more violent off court or on the court towards others.
I put up this interesting poll a while back. We got 394 votes, and it was somewhat split. I asked, who's going to win what's more likely to happen first, basically, Sinner winning a big title or Ruusuvuori winning his first title. I think 58% said Ruusuvuori winning his first title. But
when was it? When was it? Because this is actually kind of important.
Like, when did I put the poll out?
Yeah.
Like 3-4 days ago. It was just like after he beat Sinner, and maybe it was even a couple of days ago. I don't remember now. But Ruusuvuori lost in the semis here. Maybe it might have been after that.
I think it was actually kind of important, because like if it was after the match, then people thought that Ruusuvuori was going to win the title here already, and like he was one of the he was one of the 4 players left. Right now, like when Ruusuvuori is not in that tournament anymore, and like he has to start back from square one, I'm not really sure what I would vote for. Like if you ask me this after the Sinner match, I would definitely vote Ruusuvuori. I would have voted Ruusuvuori. Does violent? Violent has a negative connotation, Ghosty, but you can say that someone is hitting violently in tennis, and it's not really anything fresh or new, I think. Anyway.
Yeah, this was after he lost, so this was yesterday.
Yeah, so I think I would say Ruusuvuori based on that there was a pretty high chance that he was actually going to win this title. Let's say 25%. Let's treat all semifinalists the same. But I think that kind of just makes the edge go to Ruusuvuori. Right now, I don't know what I would click. Winning a big title, so that has to be 1,000, right?
Yeah, at least 1,000.
Yeah, there's not that many left this year. And I'm assuming that it would have to be 1,000 instead of a slam for now, let's say.
Yep.
So let's say we have 1,000, Canada, Cincy. I don't know what I would vote for. Ruusuvuori could win, like, I don't know, Winston-Salem, right?
Yeah,
maybe exactly. Newport if he plays it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's definitely a bit of a toss-up right now.
Yeah. Some people are asking about Sinner's racket and tension, and I think he has like the highest. He plays with like the tightest string possible, basically, and he has a pretty decently large head size. I wouldn't say it's like that big, but mainly the strings. But I've heard some people say that takes away from his ability to hit like the touch shots very well and drop shots, and it's like basically a really good racket and good string setup for a power player. And that's why he has a full bed of poly, and it's like around 61 pounds, which is so tight. I'm pretty sure and he doesn't really adjust it that much. But I'm curious to see how that evolves. Sometimes, like the equipment and the tension, sometimes a change in that can just be enough to get someone to the next level, or maybe something changes dramatically. But I'm just going to assume he keeps that the same for now.
We also. Oh, I can hear myself again. Not anymore. Okay. And we also had Niki Chikata reaching the semis. Is that something that we want to talk about at all? I mean,
did it really shock you?
No, not really. Like, there was nothing really that happened along the way. He beat Brouwer, he beat Hessler, who choked the match away completely, and he also beat McDonald with. I think it was a fairly random run, but it has to be said that if he actually beat Thompson, he would have been very close to a top 100 debut. If he won the title, of course, he would have gotten it. I still don't think he is actually going to do it this year. However, ATP Tour semifinal, of course, is a great achievement. And he has so far in this grass season, he has lost to Jordan Thompson twice, and also Ricardas Berankis in the qualifying here, which is kind of wild. But of course, losing to Jordan Thompson on grass in 2023, as we mentioned, is definitely no loss that you should be worried about or disappointed. And maybe what you said earlier, with Hijikata probably having more grass experience than most players. He hasn't really played on it that much, but I'm assuming that and I guess you're assuming it too, that in his early days of playing tennis, he probably trained on it a lot more than most other players would actually have the chance to. So perhaps that also helps him. He has made a bit of a reputation, I would say, by now, of peaking in some very random events, like the Berrettini Challenger at the beginning of the year, which basically had 90% Australians, and of course the Australian Open doubles title, which was just insane. Yeah, and then then he just disappears off the map for a few months, and it's been a bit of a crazy run for Rinki Hijikata for sure. He is playing Ilkley next week, and this week I suppose. Oh, this week in 11 minutes for me. For you, it's not going to be in like a few hours. But he is playing Vatanuki in the opening round, so quite a high profile first round in Ilkley there already. And speaking of Hertogenbosch, was there anyone else that you wanted to point out? Anything else? Milos Raonic, I guess we should talk about him, and Medvedev losing to Manarino, right? Let's talk about these two things.
Yeah, the Medvedev one obviously loses to Manarino again. This is like his fourth time losing to Manarino. I mean, third on grass, and Manarino is obviously very tricky. First matchup on grass, and you expected it to be challenging. He actually beat Manarino here last year in Hertogenbosch, 7-5, 7-5. But this time, he wins that first set, and then it seems like he's probably gonna take the match because he had a break point at 3-all, missed an easy forehand, and it got a little funky with his grip. And he can sometimes get rushed, Medvedev, on the forehand side on grass in particular. Of course, he still has the deep return position that he sometimes has to make his mind on, and you could tell he was just not as comfortable moving. That's obviously tricky in the first match. If he actually got through Manarino, maybe he would have won the title this week. We'll never know. But yeah, both Tsitsipas and Medvedev losing this week to pretty good grass court veterans, French players. Tough first rounds, but obviously the match between Thompson and Manarino was probably going to decide who got to the final. So it doesn't shock me, like the winner of that almost came out in the end, like winning the title almost. And then the Raonic, I was very impressed by his match against Kecmanovic, because the guy comes back after 2 years and it doesn't even look like he missed a single step, which is kind of crazy to think, because Raonic basically thought about retiring at some point, even at the end of 2021 already, because his injuries were so bad. But now it seems like he has a bunch of life in him again, and nobody would want to play him in the early rounds. At Wimbledon, he'll probably be able to build up some more momentum in the next couple of weeks as well. And there's no shame in obviously losing to Thompson, but it was a very tight first set. He had some set points, could have gone either way. But Thompson, of course, plays pretty well. But in terms of Medvedev, do you actually think this week is very important for him in Halle, and he needs a good result, or how do you kind of feel about him at Wimbledon?
Yeah, I don't feel like that loss to Manarino is really that important.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's probably what I would say. Like if he lost to Halle in the first round, if he lost in Halle in the first round, but if he loses in both, then that's actually an issue, right? So just one loss in Hertogenbosch doesn't mean much to me. I know I am higher on Medvedev on grass than most people are. I still don't feel like losing to Manarino means anything, because he has always struggled with players like this, fellow flat hitters, especially the ones who are like even more uncomfortable than him. So like Simon, Manarino, but even with Bautista Agut, he used to have a very tough matchup I guess he kind of turned it around in recent years.
They don't give him any pace to work with and redirect.
Yeah, and off the forehand, it's just so hard for him to actually generate it himself. And Manarino is just such a master at like just putting the ball in uncomfortable positions for the opponent. All the short angles or the just junk that he throws at you. And for Medvedev, for someone with this sort of a game, it's just a nightmare to play against. Sometimes he fights through it. He beats him in Hertogenbosch, of course. But I think if just Medvedev can play some more conventional opponents, then he's actually going to be still really dangerous, and like he should be more dangerous on grass than he so far has shown us.
His draw is pretty good, and his draw in Halle is pretty good. I mean, I would say Marcos Giron early.
Giron is a good one, but he had something tough in the second round, I think. Oh no, sorry. No, actually no. Yeah, his quarter is really good.
No. I mean, I would say it's a good quarter. Like, I mean, if RBA is the seed in the quarters, I mean, RBA is someone who, like we said, he tends to struggle against, but he also, can beat him fairly comfortably if he's in a good frame of mind, I would say. And then Rublev in the semifinals. I mean, I just think he has a good shot at going deep this week if he gets through his first couple of rounds.
Yeah, absolutely, and I just think it would be a problem if he lost in both events in the first round. But he losing to Manarino, someone he always struggled against, not really a big deal. And we were also talking about whom? Raonic. He basically said that it's like his last chance. He's giving it one more go. That if he's only like scheduling himself really until Toronto or Montreal or wherever they're playing this year, and that he's basically not looking for anything after that yet, because he just doesn't know how it's going to look. First week, I think it went really as well as you could have expected from him. It's rare to come back in such good condition. I think this is also sort of similar with Nishikori, I think these guys just have had so many injury issues that this time they actually like returned when they knew they could. Like they just really waited out the moment as long as possible, and like when they actually returned, Nishikori, by the way, won a challenger just a second ago, and when they actually returned, they were ready. And Raonic, the first two matches, I think he played very well. He had that easy power on the forehand that you kind of maybe forgot about. Most people just when they are talking about Raonic, they just talk about the serve. On grass, he's even a great mover, frankly, which sounds like just a shocking thing to say, because usually he's one of the worst movers in the sport, probably. Well, not John Isner, not Ivo Karlovic but like Kevin Anderson I would say. And on grass, he's actually one of the best movers in the game, I think. Just the sort of natural movement along with experience and along with just how he can go after that slice to the net. He can move backwards and slam a forehand. It's
the
really
forehand is a big weapon. Like inside out, inside in, he's very comfortable with his footwork.
Yeah,
running around that outside, and his forehand was a massive reason why he got to the Wimbledon final in 2016 and almost won Queens. Just wanted to add that. But I mean, everything else is correct.
Yeah, and he's playing Jordan Thompson again this week in Queens, which is pretty crazy. We'll see how this one goes. As I said, I mean, Thompson won the last one in straights, but there were these 2 set points at the beginning of at the end of the first set, 5-6. I think both of them went like in Thompson's favor very easily after the serve. One of them, I think he needed to put away a forehand. But it really could have gone either way. So perhaps we're going to see another great match from Thompson Raonic. And of course, you're quite right that at Wimbledon, no one really wants to play him, no matter that he hasn't played in ages. You just don't want to face someone like this in the opening round, someone who's not going to give you any rhythm.
Yeah, for sure. I see a lot of questions in the chat about Rune. So do we want to address Rune playing Cressy in the first round of Queens? Cressy, of course, coming off a 10-match losing streak. Hasn't really looked good at all since he beat Rune in Montpellier in a third set tiebreak there in indoors. So this match will be kind of an interesting one because if Runa gets through this, you know, then maybe we could see him in full flow on the grass. But if he doesn't, this is a very tricky first round kind of for both players.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not who you want to see in the opening rounds. If you're Rune, I don't care that Cressy hasn't won in ages. I really don't. I don't think it matters that much, although he was kind of dire against against Hussler last week. I just compared these two seasons from Cressy in 2022 and 2023. And in 2022, he also didn't do anything in the Sunshine Double. He had some wins on clay. So he had, I guess, slightly more momentum going forward into the grass, but also not that much. And he also lost his opener in Stuttgart. And then still managed to get to the Eastern Final, win the title in Newport, had a slightly subpar Wimbledon, but he got beaten by Jack Sock, who just had a fantastic skill set to keep the ball low on his passes. Not a bad loss, I think, for him. He also beat Auger-Aliassime, of course, in that Wimbledon campaign. And I just think that maybe it doesn't really matter for him. And if he can just find one or two matches at the beginning of the event where he runs into someone vulnerable, and I think Rune is vulnerable right now, if he gets through that, he could easily be a threat to go deep here. And I just don't think momentum matters that much with Cressy in general. However, he is in trouble if he cannot get anything going during this grass season. He will be falling in the rankings quite a lot if he cannot get anything going. Of course, as I said earlier with Hurkacz, Wimbledon is a pretty big deal for him, and the fact that everyone will gain points at Wimbledon, it might not mean actually that everyone has the same chance, right? Cressy, Hurkacz, they know that this is where they should do well. Kyrgios, of course, if he actually is going to be in good physical shape, they know that they actually have more to gain than other players, even though no one is defending any points. So maybe Cressy can save himself with a good regards run, because it doesn't seem like momentum, form. It doesn't seem like it really matters that much with him. Of course, he is on a terrible losing streak right now, 10 or something.
Yeah. Don't you think this year the fields are a bit more even in terms of Halle and Queens? I felt like in 2021 and 2022 it was much more top 10 heavy in Halle, but I feel like this year it's like 4-4 exact in terms of top 10, and just Djokovic and Ruud are basically the only two players we won't see in action next week. But in terms of that, I think this next week is going to tell us quite a lot, especially because the early rounds in both Queens and Halle pretty stacked, I would say. Alcaraz Fils is certainly a match I'm really excited to see unfold. Although I don't actually think Arthur Fils on a grass court is going to be too much of a threat to Alcaraz. We never know. But Fils, I think this week lost to Manarino in 2 tight sets, of course. Which obviously not a bad loss, but it's going to be interesting to see, because the draw is pretty tough, I would say, for everyone. If you just look at it, and you could also see Davidovich Fokina versus Alcaraz again. We saw them play in Barcelona. That was a very good match. And then just the fact that Dimitrov and Paul were in the qualifying, and then now they could play each other again in the second round already in Queens. But I do think the Queens field is a lot better, for instance, than it was last year.
Yeah, they've gone over so many changes over the years, right? In Queens, Halle. Sometimes it was just Federer in Halle, all the rest in Queens.
Yeah.
I think probably what gets Queens into even territory is Alcaraz and Rune, right? Yeah. Last year Rune was in Halle. Alcaraz wasn't playing a warm up this week. He was only playing the exhibition, of course, in Herdingham, which he's also playing this year. And I think that's what basically allowed Queens to even it up again. I guess that's how the events are the healthiest, right? When both are at more or less the same level. And definitely, I think that Queens is probably the more ideal warm-up for Wimbledon. It's closer, it's more similar conditions. Halle is a lot more specific. Halle is a lot more unique with the like semi-indoor venue. Of course, I'm only talking about the center court. If you're playing on the outside courts, perhaps it doesn't really matter. But yeah,
I think
I
it's
think it's
just a lot
probably
more. I also feel like the grass courts in Germany in general. I mean, you look at Stuttgart and maybe at times, Halle, I do feel like it plays so quick, just in
it's
comparison to
faster.
it's really really
It's more
fast.
like 90s grass. It's not 90s grass,
Yeah,
but it is more like 90s grass than Wimbledon or Queens, definitely.
like I feel if you just get your serve broken or you go down a mini break, that's it, set over because it's the margins are just so much finer. Versus I feel like on Queens you can actually have a lot more rallies. I was there actually live and I watched Liminor and Davidovich Fokina. Suddenly two guys who love to play long grinding rallies on most surfaces, and they were having 25, 30 shot rallies just from the back of the court, just struggling to hit through one another.
Yeah, like Ryan Pennystone does not make the quarterfinals in Halle. It's actually still kind of a wonder that he managed to do it in Queens, but he does not do it in Halle. There's like no option to do it in Halle. I think that's very true.
Someone's asking about Shapovalov. The thing is, I didn't get to see his match against Fuchsovich this week, and it just wasn't streamed anywhere. So I don't know what happened. I know he lost in 3, but
Yeah. So was it outside court? I mean,
yeah,
you know,
outside court they didn't.
yeah,
They didn't have
it was streamed, but only
yeah,
for
probably
the
on some
pros.
betting website or whatever. I mean,
Yeah,
I didn't know.
only for the
I didn't catch it.
pros. But yeah, I did not watch it either.
Yeah.
So I cannot really say anything about it. Shapovalov, dark horse, he can always just fire up, win 2 matches, and suddenly he is a dark horse. But like the thing I always bring up is that even in his 2021 Wimbledon run, he had a 5-setter with Philipp Kohlschreiber. So he loses that and there's no run. He loses that and he's not a Wimbledon semi-finalist. He loses that and like our perception of him is also pretty different. So even if Shapovalov goes deep, there's probably going to be like one match where he shoots himself in the foot and somehow survives. And yeah, you never really know. That's basically my point.
Yeah. Is there any other matches, and we could just go look at Queens first? Is there any storyline, any matches that really excites you right from the beginning?
Yeah, what I'm definitely not excited by is my back hurting, but thankfully we are coming to an end. I did not choose the right position to record this, but anyway, let's look at Queens. Yeah, Dimitrov Fursuvari is like a very sneaky good opening round. That will just be insane, I think. And the winner of that should play Alcaraz, or maybe Alcaraz doesn't even make it to the quarters. I don't care. I don't care. I don't know. Yeah, just generally this draw has, I think, like it's a lot more even to me than Queens. It's very hard to pinpoint favorites because lots of them, just have no grass experience, like Alcaraz, like Rune. Fritz, I think, could be a really good bet to go deep here if he beats Manarino. I wonder how much like the 2 runs in Nottingham and Surbiton are going to take out of Andy Murray. Because like game wise, I think he could easily go deep here, but yeah, can he do it 3rd week in a row? I have no clue. There's no answer to this question. And I think Ugo Humbert is actually a very solid dark horse. I really love this section for him. There's a couple of, well, Pennystone is like more or less a free win, I think, for him. And then he plays Cressy or Rune, which is somewhat tough, whoever it is. But, he's going to be so much more, he just owns the grass, even when he was in 2022, when he had that terrible streak and like was really down on himself, was down ranking wise, he still made 3rd round of Wimbledon. He kind of like stumbled across the he kind of stumbled upon this Wimbledon 3rd round. Like it wasn't a great run, but he still did it. And I think he's just so good on grass that he has an excellent chance to go deep here.
Yeah, that is a fair bet, I would say. Yeah, bit surprised he's not playing Halle, where he won in 2021, but he could go pretty far here. He has a good section. The Diminor Andy Murray match is going to be important for Andy because I think he needs to win at least 2 rounds if he wants to get himself seeded for Wimbledon. Maybe 3 would clinch it. But yeah, I don't know. Like you, I don't know what to make of those two runs because on paper he should be beating everyone there, and it was like the highest ranked player that he faced was Nuno Borges in those 2 runs. So, and obviously, he didn't lose a single set and he won all the matches. So, good job for that, I guess. And he's like gotten himself in a good position to be seeded. But yeah, I think this will be like a much bigger test, and then obviously best of 5, and maybe then he can get to the second week or something at Wimbledon. But yeah, I agree. It's generally pretty even. I think I'm gonna also have my eye on Corda, just because he came back on the clay in Madrid and Rome, and then lost to Offner in the second round of Roland Garros. But he's obviously someone who can, if he gets that Australia form going, and the grass should be a good surface for him generally. So I'm just curious to see how much back he really is in this event. He's playing Dan Evans, which is a good first round. But yeah, I think that pretty much about does it for Queens. I don't really know who's going to win that title, so that's going to be somewhat intriguing to certainly see. And Alcaraz, of course, didn't play it last year, and he's going to be the main storyline there as well. And then you also have players like Shelton and Wolf, and Korda. I think we're pretty much hit on everyone, really.
Yes.
Let's see what the comments are coming in. Yeah, I think Paul and Dimitrov just forgot to enter. So I don't know if that was just a rookie mistake. They just didn't enter on time, or what the deal was there. They also didn't stream the qualies for Queens.
That's not true.
It was behind closed doors, right?
I mean, no ATP qualies is streamed in general because tennis TV is the worst thing in the world. However, of course, you can still watch that. You can still watch the qualies. But yeah, because
I mean like the fans couldn't see it.
Oh yeah, the fact that it's held behind closed doors, that the fans are not allowed to enter, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And yeah, I mean, Ghosty, it happens. Borna Goya, for example, didn't play the Australian Open this year because they forgot to sign him up, and instead he just spent the week.
He forgot to sign up for Stuttgart, but he ended up getting a wild card.
Yeah. Goyo didn't play. He played the United Cup. He got like plenty of points. He was excellent as usual in team-based competitions, and then he just didn't play the Australian Open qualies because they forgot to sign up. And I mean, it happens.
Wow.
They wanted more time on court. No one does that because you would be just afraid that you were going to lose in the qualies. It could happen like on an individual example. Maybe someday someone did it, but most of the time players just wouldn't risk it. You're not that sure that you're going to make it for the qualies. But yeah, it happens. I remember when Rudolf Molleker didn't sign up for Wimbledon qualifying, for example. It happens all the time. And when it comes to not signing up for the main draw, you can still sign up for qualifying, which is still okay, I guess. But when you actually don't sign up for the qualifying, like Molleker or Goyo, then you're actually in trouble. I mean, I guess we're coming to an end of this, right? Do we have anything else to talk about?
Anything else in Hala, I guess, that is of interest to you, or that you wanted that we didn't already talk about? I mean, I guess Zverev and team playing again for the 12th time. I remember. I think Zverev was in the other section, but then someone withdrew, right?
Yeah, he got a seeding,
yeah. And then now he's actually seeded 9th. But yeah. Let's see. I mean, Eubank, Sarkach, round 1. I guess. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, yeah, we've already touched on Medvedev's draw, really. And then we'll see how Kyrgios and Sinner look. But yeah, I mean, there anything else? If not, I think we're pretty close to the end here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see Rublev against Wu. Like that's a nightmare opening round for Rublev. Especially given the fact that he has not played on grass yet. I don't really, Zverev team. I saw that the odds were like ridiculous, absolutely, on this match. And it's, Zverev is just like a 95% favorite or something. Maybe that's actually right. He has had a lot more time to practice on the grass. Team went to play these two
Yeah, it was
challengers.
Felix who withdrew. It was slipping my
Oh,
mind.
Felix, yeah.
Felix, yeah.
Team went to play these two Italian challengers. Sorry, one German, one Italian challenger. The third set against Travaglia was probably the worst I've ever seen him play. He was just out mentally there after blowing that second set. So maybe it's actually right. But yeah, not really excited for this match. I don't think it will be high quality tennis. However, Rublev will maybe. It actually, I kind of like Hurkacz's draw, provided he gets through Greek sport.
Yeah.
But
I think the touch Medvedev semifinal would be.
Yeah, he crushed him, of course, last year in the Halle final. Would that happen again? I don't really know, but I think it would be a very nice draw for Hurkacz if he gets through Greek sport. I'm assuming that Greek sport just has to beat Katowice by now on grass. Don't really think there's any possibility there for a loss, I suppose. Yes, I do actually need something ghosty, but I'm just gonna get a massage from the couch when I'm gonna go to sleep in probably like 15 minutes. I have to wake up early and record the Challenger podcast, and then I have to go to, of course, Poznan for the next day of the Challenger. Anyway, I guess this is where we're gonna come to an end, right? Thank you guys for being with us here. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for just making this, keeping this interesting for us. And of course, we also have to be thankful to Vanch for showing up as a substitute. Couldn't have done this without his presence and without his knowledge and analysis. And anything left to say? I don't know if John is here, if he's going to close us out, or if we are supposed to do it.
No, I mean, yeah, pretty fun as always doing this with you, Damian, and happy to be a substitute anytime for any of these shows, as you know, for Talking Tennis. And Damian and I also have our own podcast now with the Iga and Carlos Tennis Show. So if you want to check that out on Twitter, you can follow us at Iga and Carlos Tennis, and you can also check out the podcast on Spotify, Apple. Even if you're not an Iga and Carlos tennis fan, you just want to know everything about tennis. We do get into a lot of topics on that as well. Through the lens, of course, of these two generational talents, but just something else if that intrigues everyone. But yeah, and yeah, it was fun reading all the comments and interacting with everyone. And yeah, we'll probably see you next week on this show of ATP Weekly. And of course, check out the WTA Weekly as well with Nick. He does some good work there too. And with that, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that like button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
Wow, he's not only good at the other stuff, he's actually also good at advertising. Anyway, thank you guys. And I guess I am actually going to close us out because I don't see John anywhere near. So
yeah,
I guess I'm just going to end the broadcast. Thanks again, guys. And see you around. Hopefully my pack will be in better condition and there is going to be some very exciting tennis to talk about. I think that both parts are actually definitely going to be true. So again, see you.